Chair. Thank you very much for your remarks, Mr. Sabini. You brought me back to the days of when I was working in the financial sector, and we know, I think you hit the nail on the head in that these criminals are highly sophisticated. They're very fast. They adapt, and these schemes are highly complex, and they change all the time. And oftentimes, when you take a step back, you think, well, how is the law and the rules ever going to keep up with them, right? Because they're around the world, but at the same time, for the average Canadian who is working incredibly hard and abiding by the rules and paying the taxes, it can be also extremely frustrating to know that not only is the tax code so complicated that only the highly sophisticated, the people that are extremely wealthy to be, and the ones that are able to afford sophisticated lawyers and accountants will be able to find the loopholes and not pay taxes, and that's frustrating to the average Canadian. But my question to you is, what do you see as the biggest risk right now in terms of money laundering, tax evasion, and financial crime? Because it happens all day, every day, and how do we as a country keep up with that?
Thank you for your question, and through you, Mr. Chair. It's very true what you're saying. The organized crime elements are using very sophisticated methods in sheltering their money. They're using cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are very difficult. They're very difficult to trace in some instances. They're using different types of wallets that are not the typical ones that we would know that are above ground. So it becomes very difficult to have to trace it, and layering of the companies. And sometimes we have lawyers that are named in these companies, and then you've got lawyer clients, solicitor privilege, which also becomes an issue. Some of these lawyers are willingly doing it, some unknowingly doing it. So it becomes a very difficult task from a law enforcement perspective. We are looking at it from the crime. We're not looking at the tax evasion side of the house. That's a CRA mandate. We're looking at the predicate offenses, the drug trafficking that's leading to the money laundering, the frauds, the sophisticated frauds, the large frauds that are the predicate offense that are allowing them to move large funds, across.
What is the biggest risk? Like, what should we as parliamentarians focus on? Because this, like I said, it happens all day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah.
So what is the best way to target?
So maybe I'll pass the question over to Chad. He's in some of the working groups, so he may be able to give you a more detailed answer there.
Yes, thank you. One of the larger risks or things that we have to deal with is beneficial ownership. It is a hot button topic for us. Who actually controls or owns certain trusts or corporations? Certain low tax jurisdictions have allow complex setup of trusts or corporate registries, and finding out who the actual owner of those is a challenge for the police, especially when dealing with our international partners in certain jurisdictions.
Yeah. And do you have a sense of the volume of investigations? Like, how many investigations would you typically do in a year?
I do not have that number with me, but I would be happy to provide that after.
Okay. And out of the investigations, just roughly speaking, maybe percentage-wise, how many would be actually convicted?
That I don't know as well. That PPSC would, our Crown Counsel, or the courts keep track of that number.
Okay. And I suppose on average, how long would an investigation take?
That's a good question. So some can be rather quick and some can be quite lengthy, years. Even I'll call it a simple financial crime investigation is many months. It's not a week or two thing. But yes, several years in most cases leading up to the charges to go to trial.
Thank you. And how big of a problem do you think is the misuse of offshore tax havens and tax evasion when it comes to financial crime and its impact on Canada's economy and tax system?
Well, the numbers, I don't know exactly how much is in tax havens. I mean, it does have a large impact. I mean, those are, that's revenue that, we don't see or is provided to the government. As we alluded to earlier, the tax evasion side of the house is a CRA mandate where we're looking at the actual crime that's being committed for the money to be procured for them to send it overseas. So we do work in collaboration with CRA, but from a tax evasion perspective, that's totally on their mandate.
Last question, but very
Sure.
quick. How do you ensure the so-called bad actors in our society are held accountable for their financial crimes?
Just a quick answer, please.
I'm sorry?
Quick answer.
Answer,
Quick
please.
answer. Yeah, I mean, we're working very diligently. We're trying to, especially with fraud, where as you mentioned, law-abiding Canadian citizens are being defrauded, et cetera. We are working very hard to hold everybody that is committing these crimes accountable to the highest standard possible.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here with us today. You said, and you brought it up just recently, that methods have become more and more sophisticated. Cryptocurrency is a new reality, pretty new at least. And you've mentioned tracing where the cryptocurrency came from or what it is a proceed of. So how could we, as lawmakers, elected officials, help you with new regulations that could make your work easier? How can we be your partner in improving your work?
It's on to Acting Staff Sergeant Chad, who may have some ideas based on some of the groups that he's working with.
Yes, thank you for the question and through the chair. Any legislative changes to improve access to banking transactions, including cryptocurrency transactions, are always being looked at by us and through our Government of Canada partners. We also work collaboratively with many of our Government of Canada partners on disruption efforts, especially around movement of funds. So should we not be able to necessarily criminally investigate something, we are looking at how to leverage different powers of different Government of Canada departments to mitigate criminality, prevent criminality, and basically make criminal activity in Canada difficult so that people will either cease or move on. Also increased tracing or analytic tools are always heavily leveraged by police. Cryptocurrency is traceable, and we do trace it, and we use different technologies for that, including exploring AI options to help us make networks behind that.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. In a 6th of November press release, you mentioned that only 5 to 6% of fraud incidents and laundering criminality in Canada are brought to your attention. You have a new international system allowing people to report on this. Could you tell us a bit more about this new program?
That's something we can go back on. I want to give you more of a fulsome answer to that. So if we can come back with a written response on that with the international organization, can you just maybe give me more specifics as to which group you're referring to?
Ben, écoutez, on l'avait ici.
Well, listen, we had it here in the 6th of November press release, the new International Cybersecurity and Fraud Information or Informant Program. This is something that you issued. So could you just give us a quick overview of the new system that you helped set up?
Question. So we do through the Cyber Center. We do have if you want to call it like an intake, where people can report their frauds and anything that they've encountered. As we know, there's multiple frauds that are happening from a bank sending you, or alleged bank sending you a message, to romance scams. There's a lot of frauds that are happening that it allows a one-stop, if you want to call it a one-stop shop, for the Cyber Center to receive all these frauds, and it gets dispersed, depends if it should go to a police of jurisdiction. If it happened, let's say, in the city of Montreal, we'll work with the Montreal police, or wherever the jurisdiction is of that crime, we will work with whatever police of jurisdiction to fan out those complaints and allow the police to deal with all those specific complaints. In terms of statistics, I don't have those statistics available, but all that I understand is it's working well, and it, like I said, having one point of contact for the general public to know where to go is a very effective and efficient tool.
Merci beaucoup. On a eu une affirmation.
Thank you very much. We were told that tax havens constitute a method to ensure that to get the taxes paid here in Canada. So what do you think of that, that it's a method to get the taxes that are paid here in Canada?
That I can't comment on. That's a more of a CRA question in terms of the offshore money and tax havens. Like I said, we deal with the criminality that gets the money that gets sent out. But in terms of tax evasion and tax havens, that's more of a CRA question.
Thank you. Chair, do you find that criminal organizations, the ones that you investigate, is it common for them to use tax havens to hide their gains, and both to hide, I guess, their gains from the police, but also from law enforcement, but also to avoid taxes?
Yeah, I can start, and then maybe Chad can jump in. Thank you for the question. I do believe, yes, they do use tax havens to hide and launder their money. They also, use the cryptocurrency exchanges as well. That's another piece. But yes, in short answer, yes, they do. I don't know if Chad, if you want to add anything to that.
That's good. That's the answer. Is a good answer, or a complete answer. Which leads to my next question. The CRA told us a few weeks ago that they had only referred and had successfully seen through 14 prosecutions for offshore tax avoidance since 2000, so a little less than 3 per year. How many charges have you laid in relation to, let's even go the broadest category of files that you investigate? Like, how often are you laying charges for tax avoidance, or fraud, money laundering, all the things under your?
So there's a distinction there between the predicate offenses and the money laundering, and then just having your money in a tax haven. Having your money in a tax haven on its own, for us, that's a CRA mandate. It's not a crime, right? I'm asking. So for these predicate offenses, which could be any of a number of things, how often is your department, as the senior, so the national organization, investigating? We'd have to get you the statistics if that's what you're looking for. We don't have it on hand. And then I think the important thing to your question, too, if I may ask, is you were talking about prosecutions versus charges?
Yes.
Because that's two different things, right?
I understand, but charges are what you do. That's why I'm asking you about charges.
Exactly. So we can come back with that.
Okay.
We don't have that statistic on hand.
Okay. Let me ask about cooperation with the CRA. So you are investigating predicate offenses. You're leaving just simple people that are taking lawfully earned profits and not paying taxes on it. That's the CRA's issue. But you are dealing with in cases where the profits are not legally gained. Do you find that you have, in your cooperation, are you a net sender or recipient of information with the CRA? I presume you refer files to the CRA.
We do refer to the CRA. The CRA will refer something back to, let's say in an example of they're looking at a tax evasion, as simply a tax evasion, and then they come across a criminality that comes with it, then they'll refer it to us. So it's a two-way street. We'll refer either way. And sometimes we would collaborate together. Sometimes we work independent of
I
each
got lots
other.
of questions in little time. I want to ask about the financial. It's about financial institutions. How do you characterize the level of cooperation you get? And this goes back to as Ms. Cabina also said, I have working history in the finance sector, and it always seemed that the banks were reluctant to share information about what goes on in their own shop in fraud cases. Do you find that you get cooperation from the banks? Is it getting better or worse?
So we have great cooperation with the banks. We're, the new IMLIP, the Integrated Money Laundering Intelligence Partnership, that was announced. We're working closely with the banks on information sharing. We're in the process of information sharing agreements with the banks to enhance our
You have
envelopes.
agreements that are not executed yet, but you're working on them?
Yes, correct.
Okay. One last question. The former finance minister had, goes along with a question we had earlier about legislative steps. I think Mr. McDonald asked about that. So one of the former finance ministers had called for a review of the Proceeds of Crime, Money Laundering, and Terrorist Financing Act. It's overdue for review. It hasn't happened. It doesn't appear to be picked up by the government currently under the new minister. How important is that, and what would you like to see from that review?
Just a quick answer, please.
Yeah.
Reviewing of any legislation and keeping up to date is always important. And with that, any review in our world, information sharing is always a key factor to look at.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we got caught off in the last conversation where we were talking about how do we hold these bad actors accountable? Because of course the concern is that we don't have you don't have the number of investigations or the number of charges. These bad actors may just get a slap on the wrist, or maybe they get charged and there's a fine, and well, that's the cost of doing business, because it is highly profitable to engage in financial crime and tax avoidance. So can you please speak to how do we hold these bad actors accountable?
So I mean, from a law enforcement perspective, all the complaints that we do receive, obviously we take them very, very seriously. We investigate them, to the capacity and to lay charges. In terms of what happens later, in terms of the court process, in terms of, sentencing, that's outside our scope. But what I can reassure you is when we do receive complaints, we are investigating them to the fullest capability, and we are charging. But again, what happens later, that's kind of out of our purview. But
yeah, if you could submit to the committee the statistics and the data, that'd be great, just to get a sense of the problem. But also, there has been an increase in financial crime. Can you speak to why do you think this is the case? Like, what's driving this increase?
I think part of it, and Chad, you can jump in as well, but I think part of it too is, everything's electronic. Everything's electronic now. Most people are banking electronically. Most people are on their phones, emails. It's easy. You're more easily susceptible to being defrauded just by the mere amount of data and electronics that we use on a daily basis. We've got elderly now that might not necessarily know how to use these technologies. There's AI, there's the deep fakes. Like we can talk about this for half a day on how much fraud, how you can be defrauded. I think it's just because of the technologies today and how they're easily accessible.
Thank you for
or
that.
exploitable. Sorry.
Yeah. And based on your experience, what are the weaknesses in Canada's corporate financial and reporting systems that are most commonly exploited by individuals or corporations using offshore tax havens or financial crime?
A quick answer, please.
Yeah, do you want to take that one?
Quick answer would be, again, beneficial ownership and transparency and trusts.
Thank you.